What if you took the risk? What if you took the risk to fall madly in love with you, hopelessly devoted to you? I know it sounds kind of corny, but if you truly want to be your most empowered, confident, free of people pleasing, it starts with you loving you. Really, the foundation for me was embracing how much God loved me. I'm Tiffany Hendra, a women's empowerment coach, and I was my first client. I was a disempowered people pleaser for most of my life. It's been a long journey of healing. I nearly OD'd and lost my life, but I didn't by the grace of God. So I've had to relearn just about everything. And now I'm on a mission to help women do the same. I'm not a guru, I'm a guide. To continue this conversation on healing people pleasing, or I like to think of it as the cures to the disease to please. So first of all, do you accept yourself? Self-acceptance for me was huge. So learning to sit with yourself, learning to get to know yourself, know thyself. Maybe make a list, get out your journal and start to write down all of your qualities, focusing, of course, on your positive attributes, the things about your personality that you admire. We should focus on those. I went through periods of my life where it was actually self-loathing, right? So we become our own worst enemy when we're living an inauthentic life. We're to blame. We're actually carrying all this anger, which we think is directed towards others who are benefiting from our people pleasing, but actually, when you start this journey, you realize that it's anger towards yourself. You're constantly pissed at yourself. So make a list, make 3 columns. Things that I love about myself, and I have my coaching partners keep an ongoing list in their journal, because this has been one of the most challenging things for my clients to do. Because we constantly, especially when you're your own worst enemy and you're in self-loathing, you berate yourself. You focus on this side of the column, all of the things that you hate about yourself. And where does that come from? It usually comes from the comparison game. If you don't truly embrace and accept all of yourself and love yourself right where you are every step of the way, you are going to compare yourself to others. And what is it? Comparison is the thief of joy. And I know social media makes it so difficult because we see it, just images all day long, forcing us, almost taunting us to compare ourselves to one another. So when you truly start to fall in love with yourself and you realize that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, you are worthy, fully worthy in your mama's womb. When God created you, you are the apple of his eye. So embracing that fatherly love, regardless of what your biological father did or did not do, and that was huge for me as well, embracing that daddy love and how precious you are to him, and all of the ways that he created you to be different from everyone else. Part of that for me was I'm mixed. People were always like, what are you? I can't figure it out. And I was born with very, very blonde hair as a child. So to be part Asian was a little ironic. So I always say, when you think of different people and their giggles, I love a good giggle. And like Dolly Parton's giggle. So write all the qualities, every single, from your emotions, your creativity, the way you love. Think of all those things that your friends tell you and praise you on all the time. Being a great friend, being thoughtful, being a great listener. Maybe you have a knack for cooking and you love to nourish people and nurture people with an amazing meal. Maybe you have great teeth. I mean, everything. I gotta say, I went through perimenopause. I had the whole hair struggle. It's revamped now, thanks to Kytera. But I've always had, most of my life until that point, I had great hair. I have never worn hair extensions a day in my life. So think of every single thing about yourself. And yes, make that column where you say, okay, you know what? If this is something I know that I could get better at, right? Don't just make this ugly list about yourself. But there's certain things. Maybe you're lazy in an area. Maybe you do need to work on being a better listener. Maybe, like most of my clients, they want to end up speaking. They want to do social media and do videos. So they're working on their speaking voice, your posture, your image, right? Your energy, your charisma, whatever it is. Maybe you want to be a better cook. Maybe you want to be a better friend, right? But it starts with self-acceptance right here, right now, where you are, and approving of yourself. So people pleasers, and this was me for a year, I want approval from everybody. I wanted approval from everyone on social media. I wanted, constantly from childhood seeking the approval of my parents. And it continued through my life. And that's where the people pleasing starts. It does start when we're little. So when you start to approve of yourself, when you start to appreciate yourself, you start to have a little crush on yourself. Maybe it starts as a crush, but you crack open your heart and the self-loathing starts to diminish. It makes me emotional to see women finally love themselves in that beautiful, healthy way. And it doesn't mean in that ego, narcissistic, conceited way. That's not what I'm talking about. But truly embracing who and whose you are. Yeah, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. So once that crush begins, you start the self-acceptance. Really take a look at, okay, I really am beginning to understand who I am. Well, what are my values? What do I stand for? So when you really start to base your life in total integrity, meaning you do not even compromise a little bit, and we all have those areas that we compromise just a little bit. So when you set your standards, you set your values, and you know who you are, you know what you stand for, you can navigate all situations. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice. This is a journey. You're starting to get giddy, like you would about some new crush. You're starting to get giddy about yourself, and you're like, you know what? I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty awesome. I really do have this value and this standard, and this is what my life, my faith is rooted in. And there were some things still that were being presented in my life that I wouldn't debate. And it's not that you have to go around staking your claim and being really opinionated. That's not what I'm talking about. When you are rooted in your faith and your values and your standards, and you know what you stand for, that is where the ability to say no, whatever it is, an invitation to somewhere that's not in alignment with your values. I never realized that before, but that is where your ability to say no, no is a complete sentence, is truly rooted in your value. It was for me. So I was tolerating some things, and I could feel the Holy Spirit like, ding, 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 excuse me. That conviction would start, but I wouldn't speak up because I didn't want to ruffle feathers. I didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable. And again, this is not going around beating everyone over the head with your Bible or being super opinionated. We have enough of that division, that divisive energy and air in the world right now. It is so powerful, and my husband has been a beautiful example of this, and I tell this story to my coaching partners often. My husband is so grounded and rooted in his faith that he will not go to certain places if he's invited. He will not engage in certain conversations. I went through a period in the last few years of really repenting, saying, Lord, I'm sorry. Forgive me for not standing up for you. Forgive me for tolerating this kind of behavior, because what you tolerate, you're actually, what I felt convicted, if you're tolerating something, it is equal, and I could be wrong, share in the comments what you think. But if you're tolerating something that is not in alignment with your values, your standards, your faith, it's as if you are endorsing it. You're endorsing it. Tolerating it is actually saying, you know what? I'm endorsing this. This is okay. So as a healed, reformed people pleaser, you do not compromise for anyone or anything. Maybe make a list of that as well. Get out a list, and I recently had a coaching partner do this as well. Make a list. If you're not sure, like, what are my values? Well, I believe in this and I believe in... Make a list. Especially you single girls that are dating with the intention that you want to be a bride, you want to be a wife, you want to start a family. You better be very clear on your values, right? These dating apps, all of that. I just had a thought that could contribute to our divorce rate these days, because if a woman is more desperate to become a wife and get married because the clock is ticking and she's in people pleasing, I'll say it again. If you put someone above God, that is idolatry. If you're trapped in people pleasing, it will affect every area of your life, including your dating life. What are you about? What do you believe? And then going further along on this journey, you are crushing on yourself. I know that sounds so silly, but I guarantee you, you will fall in love with yourself a little bit more when you make a list of the values and you see, wow, I am a woman of integrity. I am a woman of character. Being rock solid, which I wasn't for many years. I was just going with the wind, a chameleon, being what everybody wanted me to be. Lacked integrity. I compromised all the time. And all of that leads me to you becoming your own BFF. You become your own Shiro. You become your own hype girl. You no longer need people to prop you up. You no longer need people to rescue you or save you. You are saving yourself. Like I said, I was my first client. You are no longer the victim. You're rooted and grounded in God. You start to love yourself because you have amazing values. You have such unique qualities. There is nobody else like you. Therefore, that eliminates all competition and all comparison, like I was mentioning before. So, people pleasing, I'm going to say it, people pleasing is the ultimate self-abandonment. I've had so many conversations with women from all ages, all walks of life about self-abandonment. So what I say is that in that moment, are you staying sovereign in who you are? Say you're in a meeting with a boss and you have this just bully, narcissistic boss, and in that moment, you step out of who you are to be what they need you to be, or you step away from yourself instead of being your own best friend, your own Shiro right in that moment, swooping in and saying, no, stand your ground, don't shrink back, use your voice, speak with authority, look them in the eye, stand firm. The self-abandonment and the people-pleasing, I know, that is where the true anger toward yourself comes from. It did for me. So constantly betraying. So interchange it. Self-abandonment, self-betrayal. Have you ever been cheated on? So I have. And one that I'm thinking of right now almost took me out. So you know how hard that hurts. It takes time to get over. Your heart's shattered. I even think it's worse when you are betrayed by a girlfriend. So betrayal, being cheated on, lied to, is one of the worst feelings in the world. Yet we do it to ourselves. People pleasers do it to themselves over and over and over and over and over. No wonder this insecurity, the low self-esteem, the lack of confidence, because we're constantly betraying ourselves, constantly cheating on ourselves, abandoning ourselves. Think of it like this. What if your best friend called you and she was in dire straits? She was freaking out. She was in the middle of a horrible circumstance. She was crying. You would be there for her. Start doing that for yourself. Start doing that for yourself. falling in love with you, falling in love with yourself may just be the most beautiful, rewarding romance you have ever had. So to recap, releasing people-pleasing and falling in love with yourself starts with you approving of yourself and accepting yourself. Self-acceptance, living by your values and your standards, and becoming your own BFF. Did all of that resonate? If you want to keep this conversation going, I invite you to check out this video. It was my first video on people-pleasing, and I share a little bit more about my story of healing and overcoming people-pleasing and give you 3 tips to help you on this very important empowerment journey. You've got this. Keep your crown up. I'll see you next time.